I looked at my retirement fund and there was almost nothing in it. I lost my job. They're taking my house away. I just don't understand. Lucky for him, I knew exactly what happened. Michael was just like most hardworking Americans. He worked hard at his job for over 23 years. He saved his money. He did everything right. But while he was working his fingers to the bone, the banks were secretly eating his money and manipulating the currency. So they got rich while he and you did all the work. Are you ready to discover the real-life conspiracy? Are you ready to finally see why you can never become wealthy, no matter how hard you work, until you follow the step-by-step system that the banks are spending billions just to hide from you? Then brace yourself, because the truth is going to make you incredibly angry. I need you to understand, you will be affected by this act of war against your money. Unless you follow a few easy steps to protect your money and walk away wealthy after this engineered market crash, you will lose money. It's safe to say that if you have any amount of savings, it will be close to useless after this crash. And any money you try to earn after that, worthless. Your bank account will shrink by most of its spending power. Every dollar you earn will be worthless as you struggle to survive. And the banking cartels, with the help of the federal government, will drain you for every penny, kill your job, and destroy the housing market just to make an extra buck. Your life is about to become 10 times harder. You'll struggle for every dollar and watch as a select few enjoy the spoils of this war against you and your money. Millions will lose their jobs. Thousands will go homeless. Your life will never be the same. But your life doesn't have to get worse. In fact, this might be the greatest opportunity of your life. I'm not exaggerating when I say things are about to get as bad as the Great Depression. Hyperinflation is growing rapidly, and it will kill you financially. Guaranteed, unless you take action now. The worst is about to hit. This is not about losing all your money. This is about the money you have losing all its value. Skyrocketing hyperinflation is causing your money to become worthless. This is inevitable. At first, the Fed was printing billions. Then they started printing trillions. 2 trillion, 4 trillion, 6 trillion. That's right, unlimited printing of dollars. Has there ever been a stronger indication that we are heading for hyperinflation? Like we have seen in Venezuela and all other countries where hyperinflation has occurred, like Zimbabwe and Germany. When it begins, it happens so fast that you are powerless to act, unless you are prepared. You'll see the new paper notes, just like this one, that won't be worth the paper it's printed on. The tragic economic crisis devastated the wealth of citizens in Venezuela and Germany. Imagine a $100,000 bill with no real value. This leads us to the unavoidable American dollar collapse. The fact is, the US dollar has been losing its value for over 100 years. But what will replace it? A dollar value collapse will force the world into a deep recession, or at worst, a depression. According to the world-renowned economist and investor Peter Schiff, hyperinflation has gone from the worst-case scenario to the most probable scenario. And that means people have to act quickly to protect themselves. The financial crisis will hit everyone, no matter where you live or how old you are. Millions of people will rise up in an angry rage, out of work, fighting to survive. No one will be left unscathed. Millions will be forced to steal, or dig in dumpsters, or worse, just to feed their hungry families. Riots will block the streets. Sound familiar? Lack of adequate police enforcement will allow panic to quickly spiral out of control. Homeless people will starve, living on streets in cardboard boxes. The world as we know it will die. Unless you take action now, you will lose everything. I know, because I've seen it happen firsthand. But once you finally understand how every dollar you've ever earned has been digitally stolen from you, you can finally start collecting the wealth you deserve. But first, let me back up. Why should you listen to me? Why should you trust me when I tell you that the answer to an incredible, never-ending flow of money is as easy as following a few simple steps? I know it's hard to believe, but do you really think the banks and CEOs are actually working hard, or do they just know something you don't? Hi, I'm Richard Pierce. I worked for the CIA. No, I wasn't a secret agent. I was a data analyst in the economics department of the CIA. My job was to track the ups and downs of the market, because crime rates increase when the economy goes down. So the CIA didn't just track the economy, they wanted to predict it. They needed to know the exact moment when a recession or a crash might happen, so they could be ready for the worst case scenario. And eventually, I got pretty good at seeing the patterns. In fact, I was able to determine the precise moment when a market crash would begin, and all of that knowledge has paid off. Today, I'm a multi-millionaire. I made my first million when I was 35. More importantly, I learned how to protect my money from the dollar-burning cartel. And today, right in this video, I'm going to show you how to create wealth, even during a recession, and actually walk away wealthy. For over 10 years, I've been helping people like Michael and you generate thousands or even millions of dollars in wealth. Protect your wealth from currency manipulators. And finally, live a life of freedom instead of being a wage slave. Are you ready to find out how it's all possible? Are you ready to see what the banks, CEOs, and even the federal government have been spending billions of dollars to hide from you? Then let's get started. I'm going to teach you the 3 rules for wealth creation and protection right here in this video. But before I do, I need to warn you. A catastrophic recession is already starting to explode, and your bank account, house value, investments, and even retirement fund are all about to blow up. I know what you're thinking. Didn't we just get out of a recession? Unfortunately, what we saw in 2008 is nothing like the catastrophic market crash we're going to see now. In fact, the warning signs are already creeping into some markets, and it already looks worse than the Great Depression. How do we know? Because the people in charge are running away. Why did George Soros, Bill Gates, John Legere, Steve Easterbrook, Dejane Thiam, Mike Palmer, and other billionaires resign their roles? What do they know that we don't? It's obvious that the world's wealthiest people are jumping ship. Fortune 500 companies have incredible growth. Billionaires got millions of dollars from President Trump's economic stimulus. And yet, over 1,479 CEOs secretly or quietly resigned. And meanwhile, your bank account is being drained right below your nose. Believe me when I say that this is the biggest wealth swindle the world has ever seen. But don't worry, you don't have to take this lying down. In fact, you can actually walk away from this man-made recession, this engineered market crash, with thousands, if not millions of dollars. Because this crisis has a hidden opportunity for building your wealth, and it's the biggest money-collecting secret in the last 91 years. But how? How is it possible to walk away from a market crash worse than the Great Depression and actually make a profit? Believe it or not, it's a lot easier and more realistic than you think. Because the truth is, more millionaires were created during the Great Depression than any other time since the gold rush in the 1880s. That's right. Economic crashes create millionaires. Of course, most people end up jobless, homeless, or even worse. But if you play your cards right, you can walk away from the current recession with new levels of wealth and money. And that's why you're so lucky. Today, you're going to get access to the step-by-step blueprint for making money and growing your wealth during the currently exploding market crash. Just like the people who became millionaires during the Great Depression, you can turn this market crash into your own secret weapon. Here's the best part. It takes little to no work to start making real money. You can avoid losing everything you've worked so hard to save. And you can become a successful, wealthy person using the same tricks the banks and the dollar-burning cartel are using to rob you blind. Now is the time to get ready for the worst depression the world has ever seen. Because the economic devastation from the COVID-19 crash will be 10 times worse than the 2008 real estate bubble ever was. Do you ever remember a time that was this bad? Most people have little to no savings. More than 50% of the U.S. population are living from paycheck to paycheck. 30% might be left unemployed, unable to pay their bills. Companies are losing money and many are closing their doors for good. Those jobs will not come back. There will be no recovery, no matter what the propped up and 100% fake stock market looks like. Nothing will ever be the same again. We will never go back to the old normal we knew. But there is hope. You don't have to be a victim to their malicious greed. You can protect your money and grow your wealth. I'm here to show you a simple way to do it, and it's a lot easier than you think. In fact, I'm sharing some of my $1 million tips with you in just a moment. First, let me show you how it's possible to predict the future of the economy and make money-generating decisions based on those predictions. K-Waves, the economic secret to predicting the market's future that landed a genius in jail. Let me tell you about this genius who first identified the market crash pattern you're about to suffer from, which he predicted almost 100 years ago. Nikolai Kondratiev was the first to recognize that our global markets go through waves of growth and depression. He called it K-Waves. Of course, what he discovered was no accident. The people in power want these K-Waves to happen. Why? Because it's the perfect way to manipulate the market and steal your money's value, putting all of your wealth into their pockets. So it's no surprise that he was thrown in prison and executed for exposing the truth. And your money's value is about to be stolen. But here's the good news. You don't have to be a victim. You can take action today to start protecting your money's value and creating even more wealth. With a few simple step-by-step instructions that you're about to unlock right here. Get the 3 rules for wealth creation and protection right in this video. Right now, if you're like 99% of Americans, you're struggling. Your wages are shrinking up. You haven't had a real raise in years, and life just keeps getting more expensive. The American dream seems like a joke, and all you have is debt, bills, and the fear of a complete economic collapse. And no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, you can't provide a good life for yourself and your family. So I'm going to help you right here. These are the 3 new rules for wealth creation and protection. Please pay close attention, because